So this is my friend, Dr. Laurie Barr. We've known each other for a number of decades. We served together on a nonprofit board as well. I'll have her give her background here in just a second, but the premise was about this device that I invented. But go ahead and give us your background a little bit, because it was about, I was like, wait a minute, I know one of the top radiologists in the world. Why don't I just get her on a Zoom call and see if we can talk about this stuff and maybe clarify some things. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark, for this opportunity. So I'm a medical doctor. I'm a practicing radiologist. I've been practicing for 38 years now, and my specialty is diagnostic radiology with a subspecialty in pediatric radiology. And I'm currently practicing in the Panhandle of Florida.
Okay, cool. Oh, you're in Florida?
I'm practicing in Florida, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to come visit. Well, Panhandle's a little ways away. You're a lot closer than you were. So, all right, I didn't know that. So, so the intent is this device. I don't know if you've seen it. So, it's a pocket-sized PEMF device. So it has 55 different protocols on it, and I tried to make it ridiculously simple to use. It's alphabetical. You pick the one you want, you hit play, and you put it in your pocket. That's all it does. It puts out a magnetic field. So PEMF, pulse electromagnetic fields. What I'm trying to do with it, and I've been studying the technology for 17 years, been designing this device for like 3 years. So the premise of this call is, number one, I don't want to ever hurt anybody. So I've spent forever looking at Gauss levels and magnetic fields and the other devices that are out there. And then number two, and it's safe. And number two goal is, I don't want to sell voodoo, right? So I'm a rocket scientist. I don't believe any of this stuff 20 years ago. So I've been playing with it a lot. It's like, this can't really work, but it does. So I've been digging more and more into it. So this is really targeted at the Facebook haters, okay? And there's a lot of them out there. So what I was thinking the other day is, I've been called Hitler. I should probably die. I wish you'd go to hell. All kinds of. One guy actually gave me his name and address and said, please come to New York to fight me because I want to beat you up. It's like the most ridiculous thing ever. So this guy, so I get that all the time, right? I'm running ads on Facebook and Google, and so I get the Facebook haters are the worst. And I got this comment that said, hey, does it come with a bottle of snake oil? And I'm like, and he had MD at the end of his name. I'm like, okay, so are you really a medical doctor? He goes, yeah, I am. I go, have you ever heard of an MRI? And of course, snooty, really, I won't repeat all the words, right? But it's like, yeah, of course. I go, well, that stands for magnetic resonance imaging, okay? This is a magnetic resonance device. So the difference, there's a lot of differences, but magnetic resonance as an MRI is using that physics fact for diagnostic tool, right? This is using magnetic resonance for a therapy tool. So I'm going to give my brutal explanation of how the MRI works, then I want you to try and explain it. So
Alrighty.
My understanding is, like, protons in your body have a little North Pole and South Pole, and they kind of look like Earth or tilted randomly all over your body. You put somebody in an MRI, you hit them with 20,000 Gauss or whatever your machine is, and it lines up all those protons, which makes your body create its own magnetic field. And then you hit it with some radio waves and release the energy, and you take time pictures somehow that capture the inside of the body. And it's weird is, again, the premise is most adults in advanced world know what an MRI is. They've heard of it and they trust it. It's like, yeah, we use those things all the time. And they use cell phones all the time, and they use TVs and radios and all these other things that are magic. So I'm trying to make a connection between magnetic resonance and magic, between an MRI and what PEMF is, because PEMF is not new, but it isn't mainstream yet. So explain in real, how does a magnetic MRI machine really work?
So basically, it's just what you said. You know, our body is made up of all kinds of different molecules and atoms, and there are protons. And the atoms that we mainly look at are the hydrogen atoms, because they're the ones that are the most excitable. So when we put a patient in an MRI machine, or even if you're standing near it, you know, in the room next to it, because, you know, we're talking about pretty strong magnets, like thousands of times more strong than the Earth's gravitational field. You know, if you're looking at even 1.5 Tesla, when you're standing by it, your protons in your body do line up along the axis with that magnet because it's stronger than the Earth's gravitational field. And once it's lined up, that allows the magnetic alignment, the polarity of those little magnets all through your body. Once that happens, it makes your hydrogen atoms more susceptible to accepting energy.
Okay.
So what happens next is we pulse in radio frequency. And, you know, we're in kind of usually the FM spectrum, but it's it's low to high radio frequency waves. So, you know, that kind of spans the spectrum from AM and FM and
It's
into
like
some of the
AM, FM on a radio, it's that higher frequency?
correct. Yes, radio frequency, but it does go up to some frequencies that are higher that would be in the cell phone use range. And as we pulse these radio waves in, that's what actually excites the cells. And then we listen to well, I say we listen, the machine listens to the returning frequencies, and the way the energies, the protons eventually relax, and the relaxation after being excited by the radio waves is what we measure, and we map to a grayscale. And we say, okay, the ones that are most excited, we're going to call those white. And the ones that are least excited and slower relaxing, then we're going to turn those black. And so then we map that over the whole image length with that grayscale for the different excited, you know, different relaxation times. And that's how the picture is made for diagnostic magnetic resonance imaging.
How is the relaxation of the energy? How is it captured into an image though? I mean, I understood the scale of, you know, this energy level is going to be a light gray and this one's a dark black, but is it, it's not capturing on film, so it's capturing it in what? Is this
it's captured by the computer using a fast Fourier transform.
No, an FTI.
You know, calculus there for you.
Okay.
So, but basically you're looking at a difference in the radio signal that's returning after it's been pulsed in, and you're similar to what we do with CAT scanning and X-ray diminishment.
Okay.
Similar to what we do with ultrasound, with a pulsed vibratory wave into the body that we then listen back through the same transducer. It's a vibrational wave that has to be transferred into an electronic signal to be mapped for the image. Okay. That's what the fast Fourier transform does.
So you got magnetic fields, you have radio waves, you have energy being absorbed, you have energy being released, and then I think you have even more magic than that. When you capture the image, you have like different timestamps, like a T1 and or P1 or T1, T2 or something that show different.
There's all kinds of different sequences that we can use to focus on different tissue types in the body, or water content, or blood products, or motion, if we're looking like at cardiac activity, you know, and of course, when we give contrast material, then you've got intensity over time, you know, so you've got a fourth dimension of time in there as well. So yes, there's a lot of magic there.
I was just going to say, there's a ton of magic. I mean, this is putting out a magnetic field that, don't know exactly how it works, but the theory is it's recharging your cell's batteries, right? Because if the voltage on your cell gets low, there's a lot of studies show it causes disease and health. So it charges cell's batteries and it increases ATP, which is your cell's food, as you know. But there's been some studies that show up to 500% ATP increase. So those are the two things that it's helping you energize your body to help itself heal, but it doesn't have all those feedback systems. So it's not near as much magic as what you described. So when you do all that magic to somebody and you show them, God forbid, a tumor or a broken bone, let's go with broken bone. Do they question that all that magic you just described is like, this can't be real because it's voodoo?
No, and it's because we show them an image.
Okay.
So they see the proof.
Okay.
You know, and that's really the difference. You know, like if I went into the ultrasound room and clicked at the patient and then listened to the clicks, just like a bat would click, and got answers from the clicks and then told the patient that I knew what was wrong with them based on those clicks, they would not believe me near as much as me showing them an ultrasound image,
Makes
right?
sense. Well,
But
maybe
it's the same principle, right?
makes me think of that is the crop formation. You know, I do crop formation research. The crop formation presentation I give at this nonprofit place, the last time I gave it, this guy just wouldn't, one of the students would not get off of it. He's like, prove that image is real. Prove that image is real. You Photoshop that. And I go, these were taken in 1990. Photoshop didn't exist. And then he goes, well, they made them with GPS, but GPS didn't exist. So not everyone even believes an image, right? And especially now with AI and all the nightmare that we're going to run into with copying our voices and all that. It's going to be interesting, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know, it's interesting. What I like about having the images from MRI is it does prove the concept. We know that magnets make the protons in our body more susceptible to receiving energy. We know that energy in the spectrum of the radio frequency puts energy into the protons. We see it because when it relaxes, we can make a picture. So that right there is the same concept proving your technology as well. It's the same thing.
Thank you. That's a good, super good comparison. Yeah, as you know, as a doctor, is what's hard with this is if somebody's going to go really negative, it's like, oh, it's all placebo, blah, and you're like, okay. Well, if you go walk into a doctor's office with pain, you look at a chart from 60 years ago, it says, I'm a 9, right? And then you go, I left as a 3. It's all subjective. It's the same thing with PTSD and anxiety and depression and all these other studies. What I've started doing is, don't use Aura rings because those guys are too expensive, but this little Fitbit for $80 will measure heart rate variability, stress, and sleep. And I don't know if you know this or not, because it's interesting. I found this the hard way. Stress goes up with cortisol. That I know you know. I would assume that in PTSD people, cortisol will be higher. So if any intervention brought the cortisol down, it would be good. But it's not. Most people that have PTSD have very low cortisol, period.
Because they're on go all the time. So they've already depleted everything. So they're in that chronically depleted range.
It's the first time anyone's told me that made sense. So heart rate variability has been the one thing that the VA and everyone else is measuring. And it's backwards of intuitive until you look into it, is people think about pulse. No, heart rate variability, you want it to go up to be healthier. So that's been the one measurement for PTSD. So I'm starting to encourage people, try and get some, some more. Yeah, you have all subjective data. With PTSD, I have a 93% success rate right now, which is, I'm shocked. And it's so 93% have said, and I'll love your comment on this because you're a doctor. 93% saw an improvement. 2 out of 3 is clinically and statistically significant because it's more than 11 points, according to the VA. Half of the people, Dr. Barr, will tell me it is weird. After 30 days, half of them will tell me, I don't know if it helped me or not. So I'm doing a report card where 80 is the highest score you can get. I had a lady last week went from 80 to a 12. And when I show them this report card, they freak out and they go, I didn't do this. And it's like, wasn't involved. I gave you the same survey twice. Some other doctors have told me that's a common thing in therapy. I have a chiropractor who is videotaping range of motion because people come in 2 months later and go, oh, I could always do this. No, you couldn't even do that right before we started doing stuff. So is that a common thing just in medicine that they forget how bad they felt?
Yes. Well, the problem is the body is super good at adapting to stress. So whatever stress level, and that's been one of my focuses. I have the EASA stat that I developed so that we become more aware of our stress. And the problem is we just don't perceive stress well at all. And that could be physical distress, from pain. That could be emotional distress from PTSD or similar situations, acute emotional distress. You run over your cat,
Right.
You're distressed. So all of those things, if you are whatever level it's like a thermostat. Your body adjusts to whatever level of stress you're getting on a routine basis, and that's your new norm. So once they start feeling better, they rapidly think that's their norm and they forget that they've been there before. This is very common, and it's really important to document for people where they were before. So you're doing the right thing by having them take the survey or videotaping, as you were mentioning. Yeah, because even, and you can think about it even with weight loss. You know, when people are looking in the mirror every day, stepping on the scale every day, they don't notice the change in themselves. And when they go to their 40-year reunion and someone says, oh my goodness, I didn't recognize you because you look so either great or my goodness, what happened to you? You look like you just got off the ambulance. You know, either way, it's more noticeable because that person hasn't been around you every day, because the change is so gradual, you know, you don't perceive it yourself. So that's the other piece of perceiving change.
So, but someone that does see it any day. So what's funny is in Cleveland Clinic has a 70 to 80% success rate with ADHD in this protocol. And the first person that usually notices it, and it's usually the same phrase, the teacher says, ask the parents, what new medication are they on? They're not. They didn't change the medication. They started using this PEMF therapy device. It's just really cool. It's kind of, do you remember Rich Hall in the 70s, a comedian? He had a thing called the sniglets. They were words that should exist in the dictionary but don't.
Yes.
And one of them was called boson. The boson was this invisible fog around you that stops new ideas from getting in. So it's bozo versus ozone. And I hate to even follow that comment with this one, but I've been telling people for 3 years that you can use, back to your energy comment, it could be PEMF, it could be electrical current, it could be light, it could be vibration. I created a prototype over here 4 years ago for light, because here's my end goal. The door's shut so she won't hear me. Alexa. I want to go, Alexa, run Alzheimer's in the kitchen. And people don't even know they're getting it. I would already have that device if somebody at Philips on these smart lights decided when you turn the switch on, they don't want them to just come on because it's too shocking. So it has like 100 millisecond or 200 millisecond delay. So I don't know how to get around that when I'm trying to oscillate it at 700 hertz or something. So I got to find an engineer at Philips to help me with that. But the boson thing just really threw me off. I had a meeting. So MIT discovered this 6 years ago that 40 hertz will reverse Alzheimer's. Okay. So I talked to one of their PhDs, MD, 2 weeks ago, and I was explaining this whole device to him. He's like, MIT's too busy. We get 100 calls a day. We don't care, type thing. But it was interesting. He wrote the paper that was just published 2 weeks ago. And he goes, well, what's the range? I go, it's 1 to 1,000 hertz. It's very low energy. He goes, yeah, but you can't see anything, you know, more above 50 hertz. I'm like, right. But you don't have to see it for the energy to get in. He goes, yeah, you do. I'm like, you just told me in your report that the rats, you didn't tape the rat's eyes open and look at the light. You got to run around the box, right? So even he couldn't make that connection of, yeah, maybe it could work, blah, 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 with the 40 hertz thing. It's like, I didn't want to.
Light receptors in your skin. I mean, that's why people who are trying to improve their sleep hygiene, it's not enough to wear blue light glasses or put on goggles at night. You actually either have to totally black out your room, or you need to wear a cap on your head to prevent that light from getting into your pituitary through your skin.
Okay, I didn't know that. Your skin has light receptors on it. Okay, yes. Very interesting. So what else? Ask you. I think I know the answer. I want to hear your. Why is it so hard for MDs to recommend these alternative methods? I mean, is it the AMA is going to beat them up? They don't want to get sued. What is it? Or do you?
So the allopathic medicine track that most MDs are trained in, that's allopathic education, is designed to fix flat tires, not designed to make a tire that doesn't get a flat. Okay, so we're not in the business of prevention in allopathic medicine, and the way allopathic doctors are educated, business of remediation, basically of mitigation of situations that are already bad.
Okay.
So until that changes, and you do see fields where the educational track is more open, osteopathy has more of a preventive bent. So DO doctors who have DO after their name will be more open to this and to all forms of prevention. The other thing is, the pharmaceutical industry has done a good job of convincing doctors that they're actually curing things with medicine. And, most people who really look at the way the body heals know that the body heals itself. What you're doing, no matter what treatment you're using, even if it is the very effective placebo effect,
Right.
Whatever makes the body heal, it's the body that is doing the repair. You can provide building blocks, good building blocks for the body to use. You can provide the perfect environment for the body to heal, which is what you're doing. You're providing energy, you're providing a great environment. It's really the body that has to take the action. And the things that prevent healing, or the things that cause disease in the first place, is a breakdown in a million different unbelievable reactions that make us work well. And there's no one cure for everything. That's why you have, how many different protocols did you say?
55.
55 protocols with just this one modality. And we know this isn't the only modality. You said yourself, the light therapy could do some of the similar things, so it's really remarkable. And
The reason I only picked 55, and our friend Roy, you'll get a kick out of this. His wife was asking me, what all does it do? And I start to explain it. He leaned across the Italian restaurant. You know what I'm talking about. Goes like this and goes, Mark, don't ever say anything like that to another human being again. Just concentrate on one thing till you win the Nobel Prize, and then you have street cred. I'm like, okay, but so I'm adding this to my presentations on creative thinking, right? Is experimentation trumps expertise, right? Because everyone has told me, sell it with one protocol. Everyone that's bought it is buying it because they got more than 3 things broken, right? I made up a term, because you doctors get to make stuff up. So I made up a term called diabiological syndrome. People go, what the hell is that? DIA, depression, insomnia, anxiety. You usually don't have one of those. You got 2 or all 3 of them, right? So that's why people are buying it, is it does all these different things. It's funny because my wife goes, yeah, but it's not a consumable product. You can't sell a lot of them. It is, because a spouse steals it, right? Or the friend takes it or whatever. So that's super good insight. So I don't want to keep you forever. Is there, along this term, is there anything I didn't ask you that I probably should have that's kind of cool or important?
Well, not something you didn't ask me. I want to make sure that you're really plugged into the right audience who can help you advance this.
Okay.
And that's really the doctors and other health professionals who are focused on functional medicine,
Okay.
and the biohackers.
Right.
So I would love to hear you on Dave Asprey's podcast.
Right. If I can get on.
And I actually think if you approached him with your question about how you could get over the Phillips problem with your other idea, he would be very interested in interviewing you. Okay. What he requires for his podcasts are hard proof that stuff works. So he wants to see that you're doing the research. And he's very interested in making it available and easy to use for many people, which is where you've got the ace in the hole, because your device is affordable, it's portable, and anybody can use it. Yeah. So I really think, that would be a good match for him. And, he's living in Austin now. Okay. Okay. So if you
I know who he is. I'll try to reach out to him again, but he doesn't know me. So, but I'll keep trying. But yeah, the affordable part is the reason. One of the motivations I had behind this is the Beamer mats and stuff. They work great. They're $5,000. This is retailing for $399. I wanted to make something that, and it's interesting how I made it. Real quick, Laura, just to wrap up, because I'm a chemical engineer, not electrical engineer, but I'm granting myself a new degree after this journey. Okay. Because I started off super naively having engineers build it with a coil that caught on fire. It didn't work. So what I ended up doing was taking all these protocols, and like PTSD is the most complex one because it's everywhere in your body. It's 76 frequency pairs over 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it's very complex, right? But it's what I figured out how to do is take a music synthesizer, and I'm the only person at the nonprofit that can't play music. Okay, but I took a music synthesizer and I made an MP3 out of it. So the actual, what this actually is a MP4 player, and it's playing a song, but there's no speaker in here. In fact, I'll show you real quick. So I took this, basically it's an MP3 player, got rid of the speaker and put a coil in it. So it's driving the MP3 file through the coil to make the magnetic field, right? So,
Wow.
and so that makes it super inexpensive. When people go, you said something about Earth real quick, so I'll just show everybody real fast. And I've tested more magnetometer apps than any human being should be allowed to do. Okay. Google's is off by 1000%, by the way. So theirs is terrible. That little white thing, this is X, Y, and Z. Forget that. The white is 40 microtesla of the Earth. So the Earth is constantly in a PEMF, right? We're engulfed in it. So I just take the coils and put it right there on your phone, and that shows the field that it's putting out. So when people go, how is it really working in? So you can appreciate this is like the predecessor to this. This one only gets to 105 Fahrenheit, which was a lot of engineering to keep it relatively cool. The other one got to 135, which is too hot. Almost every woman told me it's too hot to use. I just started answering this way when they said it's too hot to use. I go, put it in your bra. Stop putting it inside your bra and put it in your pocket. And they're like, how'd you know that? Are you psychic? And the one lady goes, mine got wet. What do I have to do to dry? And I go, don't drop in the toilet anymore. And she goes, what? How'd you know that?
Well, that's the problem with pockets. That's why I don't wear pockets. I'd be the lanyard for me, because
lanyard works just as good. I ended up liking I started telling everyone about the lanyard, but the pocket for me was just like, I put it in there and I forget I have it. Right. So it's like, that's just super easy. And it's non-invasive. Most of the other PEMF devices out there, not all of them, are something you wear on your head. And it just reminds me of the Green Mile and the Sparky, the electric chair that, one of them is actually wet sponges that you put on your head with the thing. And it's like, I don't want to do that. So,
well, did you look at the HAPB, the one I sent?
I talked to their CEO, and they're putting out PEMF as well. This one puts out about 8 Gauss. Theirs puts out about a half a Gauss, I think. I only know that because in their marketing video, they were using the same tool I was. But yeah, I've looked at theirs. They're mimicking, if I understand it right, chemicals like
neurochemicals. So that's another, it supports your theory.
Yes.
So their protocols mimic the neurochemicals. So we have them. I bought them for my whole family. You can mimic happy hour, you can mimic deep sleep, you can mimic alert coffee, so instead of stopping on the road between Florida and Texas a million times to go to the bathroom, if I put on my HAPB, which you wear as a necklace, if I have that on alert, then I don't have to stop as many times getting to Texas.
You said something interesting there. Did you know happy you're supposed to wear on your head originally as a band across your head? And because of what I just described, a lot of customers go, I'd rather just wear it as a necklace. So yeah, so their stuff works. They have lots. I get, some of the Facebook haters, like one of them is, there's not been a single study ever done on PEMF ever. I'm like, I go, okay, so Google NIH PubMed, you'll find about 6,000 of them. There's about 25,000 papers. He wrote back the next morning, I read them all and none are valid. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So, you're not gonna, that's why I'm saying, start preaching to the choir, which are your biohackers, like a booth at Asprey's biohacking conference next year, which he just had one in Orlando last weekend.
I live an hour from Orlando. I didn't know that.
That would be the thing to do, is to be a exhibitor at his conference, where it's people who want to take care of themselves. They're looking for these tools, and they use multiple modalities. They have a dry sauna. They have electrical stimulation. They have light therapy. They have all of these, and they're looking for more.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Laurie.
You're welcome.